I think not feel guilty about privilege, but to recognize it in a way that how do you really use it to be able to benefit those who don't have the same access power? This is Neera Nundy, and I am right now in Mumbai. I'm one of the co-founders of Dasra. So we started Dasra 20 years back. My husband and I co-founded it. We said, let's start something that supports other nonprofits. So we're like a bridge. We support nonprofits with both funding and capacity building, with the idea that if they grow institutionally, their impact will grow. And, India can be a thriving country for all. I think that for India, the second wave was just phenomenal in terms of the loss across various kinds of communities. So many people have lost loved ones and haven't been able to, say their goodbyes. So there's still a lot of stress, a lot of grief right now, all over the country. How do you take care of and how do you get a person that is COVID positive, suffering from all these symptoms, the right kind of care? And that's where you really saw community workers, frontline workers, social services really step in. And that's where we felt, let's support organizations that have this frontline. What we were hugely appreciative of is the global community actually participating in this second wave. People felt connected and worried and participated in. We did a phenomenal fundraising campaign to raise 10 million to really support the frontline, smaller organizations in the community. And within 3 weeks, we were able to raise almost $7.5 to $8 million globally, as well as from India. So I think the participation and engagement and wanting to really address this crisis has been inspiring for us. I think the greatest advantage of supporting these kinds of organizations is they're often run by people from the community for the community, whether it's healthcare, whether it's rations or the public distribution system. This is the most powerful development work one can support, right? It's not about this top-down typical approach that we have, right? Whether it's funding that comes from the north to the south, or it's the South privileged organizations supporting, the less privileged. This is about them really growing and supporting their own communities. A big, aha moment when you spend so much time locked up and, maybe reading and thinking is to, I think, not feel guilty about privilege, but to recognize it in a way that how do you really use it to be able to benefit those who don't have the same access power? And so it's pushing us as an organization and myself with how do you keep moving and creating that bridge really deep into places that, no one goes to, no one understands the challenges of these groups and what do they face. And it's our role to bring that out into mainstream and say, hey folks, all of you can participate in this, and let's, create change in this country and make it inclusive. Staff was beginning to become COVID positive. All of a sudden they were caring for grandparents and parents that needed oxygen, that needed blood, that needed medication, that needed hospital beds. We also had people who went around distributing food and cars and, trying to coordinate on how they could support. There were loved ones who have passed away in buildings and their bodies needed to be cremated. And I think that's where you realize, wow, they need to let up and have mind space and time to care for their loved ones. So then we said, okay, let's take a pause. Let's not prioritize Dasra work, but prioritize caring. I have perhaps a lot more patience and respect for how others cope, and that you have to appreciate that everybody will come and everybody will manage crisis in a different way. And it rests upon us to create an environment that people feel cared for and not judged. There's a lot to be said of the human spirit and our ability to come together in crisis. And I think it's those glimmers of how you see people helping each other have overcome a lot of division. One thing that can help is to keep momentum on awareness, right? And visibility, so that it doesn't go back into the darkness and we're all just, living our lives in our ivory towers. We can create a strong narrative for why this is needed, bring stories from the ground of change and participation and inclusion. It doesn't always have to be about money, right? It has a lot to do with your influence, how you can engage as a volunteer and really come down into the depths of what the country needs and the issues that we face. I think takes real initiative. And so that's what we need to foster more of.